Content creation, best practices for B2B in 2025. Content is the new front line of B2B sales in 2025. Buyers don't want a sales conversation as their starting point. They want answers, proof, and clear options before they ever reply to an email or accept a meeting. With roughly 67% of the B2B buyer journey happening digitally, your content is doing most of the early stage selling while your team is still cold. If prospects can't find you or can't quickly understand why you're credible, you're effectively invisible at the exact moment they're forming a shortlist. This shift changes the job of Outbound, not its importance. A strong cold calling agency or cold email agency can still create pipeline, but the best programs now plug directly into the research buyers are already doing. When our SDRs at SalesHive reference a relevant guide, a specific case study, or an objection-handling article, we're not pitching from scratch. We're continuing a conversation that's already happening in the prospect's head. The real opportunity is alignment. Content that ranks, content that persuades, and content that SDRs actually use. When your content engine is designed to support an outbound sales agency motion, it becomes a force multiplier for cold calls, follow-ups, and LinkedIn touches, especially across buying groups where different stakeholders need different proof points. Why SEO-first content now drives pipeline, not just traffic. Search is where self-directed buying starts, and it's still the dominant discovery channel for B2B. Combined search, organic plus paid, drives about 76% of traffic to B2B websites, which means SEO is not a marketing nice-to-have, it's a distribution strategy for revenue. If your content isn't built for discoverability from the beginning, you're leaving the digital part of the journey to competitors. Buyers also need repetition and validation before they engage a rep. About 47% of B2B buyers consume 3 to 5 pieces of content before talking to sales. So the question isn't, do we have a blog? It's, do we have a mapped library that answers the right questions at the right stage? When that library exists, your SDR agency motion gets warmer replies because prospects recognize your point of view and trust your expertise. Consistency matters, but only when it's strategic. Companies that blog consistently generate roughly 67% more leads than those that don't. Yet most teams sabotage the upside by publishing thin, generic posts that never rank and never get used in sales. In practice, SEO-first content means every asset is written to win an intent category, earn internal links, and point the reader toward a next step that creates real pipeline. Build your content strategy from your ICP backwards. The most reliable way to create content that converts is to start with your ICP, not a keyword list. Begin with the buying committee you actually sell to and the 10 questions that stall deals: pricing pushback, security reviews, implementation risk, internal ROI justification, and why now objections. Then layer SEO research on top to learn how prospects search for those exact problems, so the content resonates with humans and still performs in SERPs. This is where sales and marketing need a shared operating system. Run a simple monthly content backlog review with SDRs and AEs. Capture the recurring objections word for word and convert those into briefs that map to deal stages. If you're running sales outsourcing or managing an outsourced sales team, this step is even more important because consistent messaging and easy-to-use assets prevent reps from defaulting to generic pitches. A practical way to operationalize this is a content-to-pipeline matrix, persona by stage, with a clear job for each asset. If an article or case study can't be tied to a specific persona, a specific stage, and a specific motion, inbound capture, outbound follow-up, late-stage risk reduction, it's not a priority, no matter how interesting the topic feels. No matter how interesting. Treat major assets like products with a real launch plan. In 2025, quality is the moat, and most teams are overproducing the wrong things. Roughly 65% of B2B content goes unused, which usually happens when assets are created without a launch plan and without SDR enablement. The fix is simple. Ship fewer big rocks and make each one carry more weight across channels. When you invest in a 2,000 to 3,000 plus word guide, a definitive comparison page, or a high-proof case study, launch it like a product. That means an SEO-optimized page built for intent, a set of internal links from related pages, and a conversion path that matches where the reader is in their journey. Audit offer, benchmark, or targeted consult, not a generic contact us. Then build the sales layer, an email insert, a short call talk track, and a follow-up snippet your cold callers can use in the next touch. Long-form depth pays because it creates both ranking leverage and sales leverage. Data suggests long-form content can generate around 3x more leads or traffic than shorter pieces, and it's easier to repurpose a strong guide into outbound-ready formats than to stitch together 5 thin posts. This is the exact approach we recommend for B2B sales agency teams that want content to influence meetings, not just page views. If content doesn't help a rep book a meeting or move an opportunity forward, it's not a content strategy, it's a publishing habit. Best practices for creating sales-aligned content in 2025. Start by designing overlap between SEO and sales enablement instead of treating them as separate work streams. Your best-performing SEO pages should also function as objection handlers, internal justification tools, and authority links that an SDR can drop in a sequence. This is especially powerful for categories like sales development agency, B2B cold calling services, and pay-per-appointment lead generation, where buyers often compare providers and need proof fast. Prioritize quality over volume and do it intentionally. In global surveys, about 83% of content marketers say quality matters more than publishing frequency, which aligns with what we see in pipeline performance. Fewer, sharper assets outperform a constant stream of meh posts. Make every draft earn its place by requiring a clear ICP, a clear stage, a clear search intent, and a clear how sales will use it note in the brief. Use AI to accelerate production, not to replace expertise. Around 64% of marketers report using AI for content creation, and that's fine. AI is great for outlines, first drafts, and angle exploration. But the differentiation in 2025 comes from human review, subject matter edits, real examples, accurate claims, and a point of view that reads like a confident operator, not a generic summary. Common content mistakes that break pipeline and how to fix them. The most expensive mistake is creating content without a direct connection to revenue. When teams publish random acts of content, they end up with a bloated library that doesn't rank, doesn't convert, and doesn't help SDRs on calls. That's how you get high activity with low impact, and why unused content rates stay stubbornly high across B2B. The second common failure is treating SEO as an afterthought. If you add keywords after the piece is written, you'll often rank for the wrong intent or not rank at all, and you'll miss the digital research window where buyers are forming preferences. Intent-driven keyword selection, internal linking plans, and conversion paths should be decided before the first draft starts. The third mistake is writing for one champion and ignoring the rest of the buying committee. Modern deals get blocked by finance, security, and operations late in the cycle, so your content should arm your internal champion with what each stakeholder needs: ROI framing, risk reduction, implementation clarity, and decision rationale. When you do this well, your outbound sales agency outreach feels more consultative because you can send the right asset to the right person at the right time. Optimize for meetings and opportunities, not vanity metrics. If you want content to earn budget in 2025, measure it the way sales leaders think: meetings booked, opportunities created, and revenue influenced. Page views and downloads can be useful diagnostics, but they're not the goal, and they can be misleading if the wrong audience is consuming your content. The most effective teams connect content touchpoints to CRM outcomes so they can point to specific topics that created real pipeline. This is also how you create tighter feedback loops for outbound. Tag sequences that include specific assets, track reply and meeting rates against baseline, and watch which pages show up most often in opportunity timelines. When you operate like this, your content roadmap becomes a living system that improves your cold calling services and cold email performance over time. Don't overlook operational enablement. SDRs won't use content they can't find, can't explain, or can't deploy quickly in the flow of a call. A simple internal playbook that maps objection, best asset, suggested talk track is often the difference between content that influences deals and content that sits untouched in a folder labeled resources. Next steps: build a content engine that fuels outbound and scales. Start with an audit that's grounded in real opportunities, not opinions. Pull your last 20 to 30 deals, won and lost. Identify the repeated questions that shaped outcomes and map your current assets to those moments. The gaps you find become your highest ROI content priorities because they directly reduce friction in discovery, evaluation, and procurement. Then define 3 to 5 content pillars tied to your ICP's highest value problems and align each pillar to a cluster strategy. A pillar page earns rankings and captures demand. The cluster articles win sub-intents and feed internal links, and the sales derivatives, email snippets, one-slide summaries, and short scripts make the work usable for an outsourced SDR company or an in-house team alike. If you're evaluating sales outsourcing or planning to hire SDRs, this structure helps you ramp faster because messaging and assets are already standardized. Finally, treat content as a shared pipeline asset across marketing and sales, not a marketing deliverable. At SalesHive, we've seen that the fastest improvements happen when teams align content decisions to the same KPIs they run outbound on: meetings, opportunities, and revenue. Whether prospects find you via Google, a LinkedIn touch, or a cold call, the winning move in 2025 is the same: show up with the clearest answer and the strongest proof every time.